Calm down, Danes.
We're 20 seconds. They can hear us. 20 seconds. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10.
Let's go.
Doom, 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 doom. All the danksters put a D in the chat. All right.
Guys, come on. There we go. There we go. So, hold on.
This is Elizabeth Lane's first time running a live. We're making her do it so she can get into the doing it.
So yeah, this is like, guys, this is gonna be like a slow thing for me because I've never actually run live. This is where Danks is like the pro. He runs all my lives too. So this time I'm gonna try. So love you too, guys. I see all the comments. Love you guys. Okay, so we are going to dive into very important and interesting thing today. And at the end, as always, guys, we'll get to you. You can ask our guests whatever you want. So speaking of our guests today,
I don't know if your mic is picking up the same mic that you need for this.
Oh, hold on. Let me see.
Yeah.
Guys are not hearing us.
It sounds pretty like it's coming from a different mic.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
I can't hear you now, guys. 1 second. It could be.
If you look on the bottom where it says your mic, there's a little arrow points up.
I go to roads and it's just not. Then I can't hear you guys.
Then just turn Zoom off. Empty Zoom.
Situation. Hold on.
Bear with us. Technical.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, sorry guys, we have a little problem here. 1 second, because I can't hear you now, even though you can hear me. So let's figure something out here. So go ahead, guys. You continue with the live while I fix my mic situation here.
So we do have George as a special guest. He is an AI expert in the field. He's working in development. We were talking before coming on stream. You all know me. If you don't, I'm Danks. We work together, Elizabeth and I, doing research.
How about now?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Still can't hear you for some reason.
Okay.
My mic is working, but I can't hear you guys.
That's fine. I'm going to text her just to mute her mic until she can hear us. But anyways, George, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us who you are. That way we can get an idea of exactly your background, why you're even here, and what you think you'll be able to bring. Because we're going to be looking at the Tucker O'Leary interview, which I'm sure you've got plenty of things to say on that, as do I. So what about you and your background do you want the people to know?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and having this conversation with you guys. I think it's very topical. Absolutely, AI is in everybody's mind. So my background is engineering. I studied control engineering, then did a PhD in AI. I worked a lot in AI, especially in AI for medicine. I've worked in business consulting. I've spent a few years in high performance computing in Silicon Valley, working with very much what the ancestors of NVIDIA chips used to do. And to cut a very long and winding story short, what I'm doing right now, I'm part of a leadership team. We have a startup that is working very fervently in AI. We're developing a new sort of type of foundation models, not your transformer LLM models, but something completely different. I'd like to call it a symbolic logic coupled with neuromorphic computing, and maybe we can get into the weeds later about that. But that's my background, and I've also published a couple of books that are sort of popularizing AI. One is called In Our Own Image: Will AI Save Us or Destroy Us? That was published by Penguin, and most recently with MIT Press, another book called Cyber Republic: Reinventing Democracy in the Age of Intelligent Machines. And guys, I'm here because of Elizabeth. She invited me. I couldn't say no.
Who can say no?
Guys, can you hear me well now? I think I fixed it.
It's perfect.
Very good. Okay, so I think it was our Zoom problem. Thanks. So I took that away. All right, guys. So, George, we've been hearing a lot about these data centers, and me and you had a private conversation that was really scary. And I think people should know what we've talked about on the phone and how we have all these millionaires and billionaires investing in something that's not profitable. And no one can explain why, other than it's not about the money, but it is about control. So maybe before we dive into actual data centers, their damage, and we're going to bring up O'Leary's arguments and absolutely debunk them and so on. Maybe first you tell us why AI is not profitable and why is there so much rush to like get the money as soon as possible before the bubble bursts.
So there's a lot of investment in infrastructure because infrastructure is necessary for those models to work and scale. And if you look at at least the financial reporting that we have, visibility in, because they're not public companies, right? They're still private companies, most of them. The consensus is that revenue is scaling up quite quickly. At least that's what they're saying. So every year they have like a 10x factor. But if you compare that with how much is necessary in order to build the data centers and train the models, they're still not profitable, right? However, the reason why people are pouring money into data centers, nevertheless, and the expectation that those companies will, get into an IPO at a very high valuation, is that there is a consensus, if you like, a consensus among the investor community, but also a consensus around in government that AI is essential for our economy, I mean the US, but also in the West more broadly, to compete in the 21st century. Meaning that without AI, we're not going to be able to compete economically and militarily. So that's the consensus between the investors and government, and a few other folks as well. Media,
it's very scary because there is a consensus in Europe right now that Russia is a threat. They should attack Russia and start another war. Doesn't mean that consensus is right. Sometimes you shouldn't do something just because you can, because it might. Well, I can punch everyone in the streets. I'm able to. I go to the gym every day. I'm strong enough to probably beat them up too. Should I? Just to feel like that might.
Yes, you should.
Yes,
no,
I should, right?
I know you want to. No.
I really want to. You're absolutely Loomer. So,
so you're absolutely right. A consensus doesn't mean that people are right.
Right.
And only by hindsight you can tell if something is right or wrong. However, the reason why there is this consensus more broadly is because of the way AI has been framed. Okay, the AI has been framed as a kind of race. Okay, like an arms race, if you like, between the US and China, which is the main competitor right now, both strategically, geopolitically, and economically. So again and again, you'll hear the narrative, and I'm not saying if it's true or not true. I'm just explaining why the consensus. The consensus is that if we don't develop, AI, then the Chinese will, and if the Chinese will, they'll take over. By the way, there is an example of why this consensus sort of gains a few positive points. Okay, and let me just say
which consensus specifically?
The consensus that you have to invest in AI or else.
Okay.
What's the or else? The or else is the European Union. Okay, so in 2008, there was parity between incomes in the United States and the European Union. Okay, since 2008, there's been a massive divergence. Like right now, the US is about 100%. The average, the GDP per capita is around 90,000. I'm rounding up, compared to about $45,000 in Europe, right? So Europe had been falling behind over the past few years. Now, why is that? There's a few reasons. Energy is a big factor, but another factor is the fact that what the European Union is very good at is regulating, is essentially, stopping itself from doing anything useful. Okay, so for instance, now we have, since May, we have something in the EU, and I live in Europe, not in the EU, where something called the AI Act. Okay, so the AI Act, in a nutshell, creates a lot of onerous admin for startups to qualify their AI systems. Right now, all this was done, in the name of protecting people, for all the good reasons. But the net result has been that EU has fallen behind. And right now, is basically. Doesn't matter. It's not an important player in the AI field. Anyhow, so I'm just trying to explain how all the, sometimes people just think of the same thing for all kinds of reasons and somehow they converge in the same conclusion. It doesn't have to be right or wrong, but I'm trying to sort of understand why everybody's being pushed towards that consensus.
So as I understand, George, and you were part of like World Economic Forum meetings, right? So you saw these guys, you were listening to where they are going and so on. And as I understand, they tried to feed us this Agenda 2030. People were like, you're crazy. We're not accepting that. And now they are playing out the exact same thing with Plan B. I mean, like, people need to pay attention to this. It's exact same thing. Affordable house is gone. At least in America, it's gone, okay? 40 plus people cannot afford a house in America. A so-called number one country in the world, okay? So then they have this declared war on oil. Oil refineries are going up in flames. No one can explain why. And of course, you remember the cow situation and red meat and all of that. So they could not pass that through. And now they are trying to bring this entity, like a AI entity, out through these data centers with the results of environmental damage and so on. But they are still fitting the same Agenda 2030 plan. So do you think that there's a way out, or we just have to live through it?
Well, it all boils down to politics, I guess, like everything, right? How much control do we, the voters, let's say, the citizens of any country, have on decisions taken usually far away from us, in the US, in Washington, in Europe, in Brussels? How much power do we have in order to influence those policies, right? And the answer is not much, okay? Let's take, for example, the narrative around AI that is being touted by the big hyperscalers as something that will impact work in a very profound way, meaning, and they keep saying that essentially AI will replace most jobs, okay? This, I think, is a very terrifying scenario, right? For most of us, when we hear that, it's terrifying. In my opinion, I think this is a trap that those hyperscalers have fallen into. And let me explain what I mean by that. What's the trap that I think, okay? They need to tout this scenario so that they become extremely important. So what they're saying to their investors is, you need to invest in us because we're the future. Because if you don't invest in us, nothing else happens. We're going to be at the center of everything. There isn't a single industry that will not need AI. That's why give us your dollars, right? So they need to actually say that this is monumental, right? Okay. But at the same time, unfortunately, right, and this is the trap, they create a lot of fear into people, right? When you say, all day they stand in front of, this guy O'Leary and others like him, they keep saying about, everybody's job disappeared, right? So I think that's a trap that I fall into. And I think we need to be a little bit more sober about what's going to happen and hopefully take some control of what's happening as well and not leave the control to them. Okay. I wouldn't trust them. Okay. No one should.
Yeah. And we were talking about this before, actually. And I kind of want to touch on a couple of things that you were talking about regarding the race towards why we need to do AI. Okay. So, or the why invest in AI or else, right? You keep hearing invest in AI or we'll lose to China. That's their pitch, essentially. And that's what every data center operator, every DC lobbyist, every Wall Street analyst is going to tell you right now, because their money depends on that. And they make it sound urgent because they are the number one salesman for this, for billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. We're talking mega dollars, trillions at the end of the day. And the United States, to be honest, if you've been watching my channel, Elizabeth, we know we are not even close to losing any AI race. As of right now,
exactly,
the US has more large language model deployments, more GPU infrastructure, more private AI investments, and more top-tier AI researchers than any country on the planet. Hands down, okay? And the EU also, we have already more data center infrastructure I think, more concentrated hyperscalers in the EU and in America if you add the two. When it comes to just general data centers, the EU, I think, has the most concentrated amount, as we are second. China is has 10% of what we have. When you think about OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, Meta AI, all American and American funded, right? So the compute advantage that the US holds over China right now is significant. And I think that's not even the best word to say. It is unparalleled. Okay. So we know, because the US government spent the last 3 years specifically trying to keep it that way through chip export controls on NVIDIA hardware. And the reason why you keep hearing about Taiwan coming from Taiwan, 97% of our compute powering chips, the silicon themselves, are coming from Taiwan. So there is a big battle, and it's behind the scenes. They don't want to make it that big of a deal yet, but eventually soon we are going to have to figure out, is it China or us? And there's in my eyes, the reason why we are going to bring all these people over to China, there's two things. One, personally, first and foremost, I think it's for the AI chips themselves and Taiwan. They're talking backdoor conversations. What are we going to do? Do we want to go into all-out war with China over Taiwan? Probably not. So there might be some backdoor deal that we're not seeing. And also, all these companies that are there, the CEOs, these billionaires, why do you think they're going to China anyways? It's because of that, one thing. And also, they're building a surveillance state. And China is the only country that's done it successfully for the last 2 decades.
Exactly. Also, thanks. I want to add on something. George, you told me something very interesting, because all these billionaires always come back to this competition with China when they are cornered with all the arguments about, how they're going to damage the environment, CO2 emissions, bills going up for local states, for, taxpayers. When they are cornered with all these arguments, their way out is, well, if China wins the game, then we are doomed, right? But you told me something very interesting. China doesn't have the chips equivalent to ours that they need to actually be in this type of competition. So could you explain that part to me?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Danks just mentioned, right? As of the present moment, we have a very clear advantage over China. I was doing some research before I joined here, and it seems that there are about 5,000 data centers in the US dedicated to AI compared to around maybe 500 in China. So to your point, thanks, that's exactly right. 10x over in the States, and we do have an advantage over the chips. Now, this is absolutely so. Producing those high performance microchips is extremely difficult. It's very difficult, extremely difficult to duplicate. That's the reason why, for example, the chip production is in Taiwan, which ran next to China, and no one has said, okay, let's bring this production into the US. It's not so trivial. It can't be done just like that. I believe that there are, you mentioned, Elizabeth, the environmental issue. I think there's two other issues, perhaps, which are even bigger, that a conversation needs to be had around AI. One is the obvious one, of course, the impact on work. And this is, for me, a big conversation. And the other one, I think you mentioned as well, is surveillance, right? Okay. For AI, AI is like the dream technology for surveillance. Okay. That's what it is, right? And it's already being used. So how do we manage that? How do we control that? Okay, what do we do about that? For example, there in the EU, again, I mentioned back the AI Act, it was all about what is called sovereign AI. Okay, having AI being processed. There's a few ways we can discuss, but these are the big things. It's the environmental impact, right? The energy use, for example, for data centers is projected in 2030 to be something like 20% of the global energy needs. 20% is massive. Okay, massive. All right. What's the impact on work? Are we going to be out of work? Because you see, if we're going to be out of work, we're not just workers, we're also consumers, right? Okay, right? What's going to happen when no one has any money to buy anything? Okay, and of course, surveillance. Okay, how do we manage that? I think these are the big issues, and I feel that, I was in Washington it was about like last month, I think, and I had many conversations. It was during the World Bank and IMF meetings in Washington with a lot of people who are sort of, come from all kinds of industries, including the software industry and government, and from around other governments as well. And my takeaway is that no one has a clue how to deal with those things, really. No one has a clue, They sort of regurgitate, all the ideas like UBI, like, maybe we do robot tax, but no one has a clear idea of where is this heading and how we're going to deal with it. But everybody agrees that there's a tsunami coming, okay? And we're just resting on the beach. It's a sunny day, all right? And there's a tsunami coming, okay? And we should be running for the hills or do something different than just, sunbathing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. This is the thing people need to realize is that America is winning. Okay, America is winning. EU is regulating, and China is real, but it's an overstated threat, right? And they're using that as, I would say, like a rhetorical crowbar, if you will, to push through hundreds of billions in private infrastructure spending with public subsidies and absolutely zero accountability. Like that's what we proved with MIDA, MIDA. They're rolling out a military deep state operation to where the state, local government has no say and the federal gets to decide the oversight. Now, to your point about...
So sorry, remind people who are new what MIDA is real quick, just to recap, because I realized that some of the people out there now, journalists, actually are taking our videos on MIDA and going with it. So it's good that people are actually finding out what MIDA is. I saw like multiple clips. Somebody tagged me like, you guys discovered this, whatever. So tell people what MIDA is real quick, so George knows what we're talking about, Yunuta, as well.
Absolutely. And I put it in the chat on all of our chats, MIDAUT.org, MIDA Utah, MIDAUT.org. It is literally in the name, MIDA, military, M, installation, I, development, D, authority, military installation development authority.org, MIDAUT.org. And what it does is it actually is the institutional layer in between federal and state, where they are the ones that are operating alongside the U.S. government, military, and the Pentagon to actually hold the land rights and the project development areas and locations where these data centers are being operated. It's not just data centers, but they're using this build out to actually receive the tax, decide the tax, and who gets what amount of tax from. I mean, they literally decide everything. Let's just put it that way. They are the deciding governing body over anything within the land plots that MIDA operates in, which is the entire state of Utah. So they can actually decide, if I'm not mistaken from memory, they can decide what area in Utah they want to work in. Once they zone that area, they decide anything and everything that happens from funding, decisions, and they can't be told what to do. The only people that can tell them what to do are the Senate level or the federal level oversight, which there's only a couple people that are significantly involved, which we've mentioned before, is Lee and Curtis, which are senators. And then also you have Stuart Adams, which is the board chairman of this MIDA, okay? And so when the state, so for example, let me just give a very clean-cut example. Say they are building the Stratos project with Kevin O'Leary. MIDA is the one that gives them the landing zoning, and then MIDA will tell Stratos or Kevin O'Leary, they'll say, all right, this is your area, you do whatever you want, and we get to decide, are we going to hold you accountable for this amount of tax? So they say, okay, we're going to take 100% of what that tax is. Typically the state would receive 80%, this is the state law in Utah, of any development in that zoning area. But instead, MIDA has decided, because they can, that instead of that 100%, so Kevin O'Leary pays 100% tax on whatever it's supposed to be, that typically 80% of that 100 would go back to the state for all public schools, fire departments, police officers, general funding, blah, 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 blah. MITA said, no, the state's not getting anything except for 10% to the general fund. And they can decide wherever that money goes. So instead of the state benefiting at all for their educational infrastructure, for anything, MITA actually overrides that and says, we're actually going to just give Kevin O'Leary back 80%. We're going to keep 10% as a fee for operating this. And then we're going to give 10% to the state, and it only goes to this fund. So they even get to decide what fund in the state gets. So they have, and then the worst part is in the state or anybody local, they get to submit a claim, and all MITA has to do is acknowledge they received it. That's it. They don't have to make any adjustments. They could literally put a finger to you and say, thanks for your advice. That's it.
Thanks for your concern. We're not going to do anything about this. Also, they now made that pricey as well. It's like $15 to submit any claims or something.
Oh, they did.
So,
I didn't know that.
And
Wow.
So people are fighting it. There's a whole protest planned here on the 23rd. Utah woke up. I mean, I did not expect people to be this resilient, but they are, which is amazing. And they are making it super hard to fight this state. They are making it extremely hard to fight this data center. But if we do things right, we might get our way. I don't know. We'll see. Even though they say we're not going to listen to you, but we'll see. So,
but real quick, what do you think? Like, why do you think they did this? And we've also looked. I don't know if whoever wants to answer. I'm very curious. What is your opinion on this self-governing body that is basically overseeing itself with no federal regulated anything? Like, what is the purpose of this? I have my opinion, but
yeah, I have an answer to that, and a very simple one. It's the same as Nazi Germany, period. So here's the thing. You have to make illegal actions legal for yourself to get away and gaslight people into telling them, no, actually by law, which we made, legal, even though the action itself is illegal in a country that's supposed to have a representation, right? So what is a governor? Why do we pick a governor? Why do we vote these people in so that we have a representation? But when they take our word and, free speech and ability to protect ourselves, and then, make it a law that we can't, now it's legal for them to steal, cheat, poison you, and there's nothing you can do. And if you try, they will come back and gaslight you. Something is wrong with you. You do not want progress for this country. You want China to win. Look at the law. We're doing everything legally. What do you want? You are.
But then they don't tell us that the law legally is we can do whatever the hell we want.
Exactly. But that's the key, Dangs. That's what Nazi Germany did. It was not this bad in freaking communism. It was bad, but it was not as bad because at least, you didn't have internet. You didn't have AI to control. Like in communism, like no one knew if somebody wanted to escape somewhere in the village, like no one could find you. If you wanted to form a group of resistance, you could. Simply because there was no monitoring on the phones, recording anything. Like very rarely, they had old-fashioned tech and they could not oppose people. So to come back to your question, why? This is why. Because when they surveil everything through these data centers, there is no resistance. There is no underground groups like Nazis had to fight, right? There was actual underground operation during Nazis where they, saved people and they were running entire operation. There's a great book, 31st Mission.
If you want to put my screen share up, I'll show while you're talking. I'll show the military website.
Yeah, exactly.
Add to stage.
So that's the goal. The goal is to get you under full surveillance. So when you finally hit the red in your life and you're like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this when I can't buy groceries to my, to feed my family, when I can't buy a house, when everything is regulated, when I can't have opinions, when I can't speak. When you are done with that, there will be no resistance. How are you going to do that? Throw away phones? You have to get connected somehow. Where are you going to hide? Well, apparently now CIA claims, we're going to find you through your heartbeat. What? What I mean? Operation Murmured? Like, what are you talking about? It's worse than Nazi Germany, and it is worse than communism. Communists did not have the tech to hunt down people. They could only hunt down people if they knew where they were and what they were doing. That's it.
So you're saying hunting down people with no oversight, doing whatever they want. It could be anything, hunting down, making decisions, no governing body except for themselves. It makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, George, what is your answer to the question? And if Elizabeth, if you add to the stage I'm going to show the website while he's talking.
There we go.
So, George, what is your opinion on
So I don't know the particulars, but just listening to you guys talking about that, clearly, whoever's come up with this idea, does not manage this issue very well, right? Because clearly there's a lot of resistance to this idea, to this sort of very obvious way of giving kickbacks to investors and not the state not getting any benefit out of that investment. So it looks to me that those people are not managing very well the situation, right? And they should be managing it much better. And I hear you what you're saying about Elizabeth, about the surveillance state. This is something that concerns me very much as well, personally, right? And I'd like to think we're not there yet. I'd like to think that people can mobilize. I'd like to think that people can still use the law to mobilize in the United States and elsewhere. But I'm afraid that, if we don't mobilize, if we don't have a say, if we don't have a seat on the table on how this technology is going to be used, I think we will very soon find ourselves in a terrible situation where there will be a surveillance state. I mean, I look at the UK, for instance, and I'm British, right? I don't live in the UK right now, but I am British, and I feel sorry for what's going on there because there's already surveillance. The police, instead of actually, going on patrol and picking up thieves, they're sitting in front of the computers and sort of monitoring what people are saying on Facebook and Twitter, right? And then they come and arrest you. I was looking at the statistics, like over 12,000 cases, right, of people being persecuted. Compare that to China. China has less than 500. I mean, how about that, right? Okay. Okay. So that's shocking. Okay, and you can see how quickly society can slide into this situation, right, where people are sort of are not allowed to say what they think.
George, it's like a full-blown psyop and mind campaign on people. I'll tell you a few things that I have a serious problem with. So they are telling people, oh, be happy with what you have. Be content. Shut up. Be happy. Look how bad it is in China. Look how bad it is in Russia. In reality, it's not that bad in China or Russia. And but they have to convince you so that you shut up. You at least have a freedom to go and, shop on Sundays or something. They don't even have that, or ridiculous propaganda like that. Ridiculous propaganda. And once, people believe that, that's when they have the most power, because then people are sitting there thinking, well, at least we're not China, right? At least other places are worse, right? That's not true. That's not true. I have the perspective. I lived in different countries. I traveled the world. I'm a traveler, I've been everywhere. So I know how it is in other countries. I know that very well. And I'm, on this, it's hard to say, but I don't think America is the best country in the world anymore. I want it to be. This is why I'm fighting for it. And this is why I'm getting all this hate and freaking, this is home for me. I want it to be the best country in the world, but it's no longer that. And it breaks my heart. I can't sleep at night sometimes until 3 a.m. thinking, where is this country going? Because if this country goes over the cliff, it's going to take everyone else with it. It has the ability to do that, and it's done that before.
Now, I think this is a good segue to kind of lead into what we're going to show here, because we're going to play this clip. It's Tucker Carlson, and many of you have probably heard already. He sits down with Kevin O'Leary, and they're talking about AI data centers. And on the surface, it looks like a business conversation. And Tucker obviously seems a little, I don't know if irritated is the best word, but definitely concerned, right? But definitely two people, business and a journalist, discussing tax incentives, job numbers, a lot of the things that we've just been talking about. But when you'll see what happens in this clip, where Tucker actually, he keeps asking one question, and it's a simple question. Why should taxpayers have to pay for this if it's a private business making private profit, right? And when we say, I just explained how this works, why he's saying this, because the taxpayers are literally giving up hundreds of millions of dollars in tax benefits and giving it right back to them at their business. And then MITA, the overseer, and then they get only 12% back of what they would actually get. Not only that, Kevin O'Leary's paying less than 0.5% of tax in general.
Exactly.
So again, he keeps asking it. And every time O'Leary keeps dancing around it. Every time Tucker corners him on the numbers, O'Leary changes the subject. Jobs becomes productivity. Productivity becomes China. China becomes Taiwan. And by the end of the clip, they're basically debating whether the internet made America a better country. And that's how far O'Leary had to run to avoid answering a straight question, you know?
Let's go.
Yeah. So
Should
after
we
we
play
play
the
it, I definitely love, or during you could just tell me to pause it.
Yeah.
It's ready to go, and we can address certain things
Absolutely.
throughout for sure.
I think Tucker made a really good case. Like Tucker really destroyed O'Leary, like, nicely, without any offense or anything, like nicely. Dude, just walk me through it. All I'm asking is a simple question. Why should we pay for your data center? What's up with that? Like, you're a billionaire, pay for it yourself, fully, by the way. Also, very, very important thing that no one asked O'Leary to do. He keeps saying, I'm an environmentalist. I know the damage, Like, I mean, he just freaking, effed our heads with this environmentalist crap of his. So the question is, if you know that you're not going to damage the environment, our bills are not go up, CO2 emissions are not going to be a problem, great, then sign it. Officially put it in writing and sign it, that if the bills goes up, you pay for it. If something happens because of your data center, you pay for these people's health then. Why are you afraid to sign it? Because you don't know. And that's the problem. So let's bring this on.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into it.
About why taxpayers should have to pay for this. Let me ask, though, about why taxpayers should have to pay for this if it's a private business and your tenants are some of the richest companies in the world. Why would taxpayers be required, as they now are, to subsidize this?
They don't necessarily have to do that. They just won't win any contracts. It's a competition.
But why are you getting tax breaks is my question.
Yeah, everybody, you go back and you say, what incentives can you give us to invest $15 billion in the first 1.5 gigs? That's what it takes. I have to go raise $15 billion.
Well,
that's just
okay, but anyone who starts a business, why should taxpayers have to pony up for that?
They don't. But
well, of course they do. If you're getting a tax break and they're not, they're making up the difference. There's a state budget.
Hey, that's no problem. That's no problem. I can build it in Texas. I can build it in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
Now, Tucker, he asked the right question, but I would say he's stopping one step too short. Yes, tax incentives are a real subsidy, but one thing I'd say is not accounted for here is that the alternative. If the data center doesn't get built in your state, it gets built in a different state. And that state collects 20 years of payroll tax, property tax, vendor spending instead of zero. So the actual choice isn't subsidy versus no subsidy. It's give a targeted break to capture a long-term base or watch your neighbor state capture it instead. And that's the real game, I think, here. I just wanted to throw that in.
Exactly.
But why?
Go ahead. Sorry, I should have waited. Did you have?
Oh, no. I said exactly your own point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see where
Why,
he goes.
if it's such a good business, would you be asking taxpayers to help pay for it without giving them equity in the company? Are you giving taxpayers shares?
No, the investors get the shares, but here's why they would do it.
Why would the taxpayers have to?
Well,
I mean, in other words, if you want to start a business, but why am I, as a taxpayer, forced to pay for your business? I don't get it.
Well, let's forget about data centers. Let's go any manufacturing. Let's say you're going to build an aluminum sheet manufacturing facility.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the government there and say, look, this is going to huge capex expenditure. I'm going to hire 2,000 people. I'm going to build a community center. I'm going to pay a lot of tax on the profits in your state when I sell the aluminum. And I'm going to hire all these people who they will also pay tax. And we will build a school because our workers need a school. And. What can you give me to incentivize me versus the state right beside you, which is willing to give me an incentive package.
No, I understand. I understand that you're gaming a system in place. You didn't come up with this, but
No,
I'm just trying to understand. So the trade typically is jobs, okay? But these projects don't actually.
Well, no, it's also jobs and taxes because you're going
and taxes.
Yeah,
but then you're getting a tax break, so that doesn't really make any sense.
Only up front, Tucker, welcome to America, buddy. This is how it's gone on for 200 years.
Okay,
Different
well,
states
I don't know. Lots of bad things go on for a while. But I think at some point.
Can you pause it? Tucker, welcome to America, buddy. Welcome to America. Here, rich are getting rich and poor are getting poorer. And that's exactly how we like it. That's what he's saying there. That's what he's saying. Not that what's right, what's wrong. Probably we should strive to do things better. But that's not what he says. Oh, welcome to America, buddy. There's a system that's corrupt and I'm going to use it. You have a problem with that? And then I'm going to come out and claim that I'm an angel trying to get our country above China. That's what I'm going to do. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
I do want to ask George, because he is more so on the business side, and so I'm curious, George, do you see where Kevin is coming from? Do you think, like, can you give an opinion on just the business aspect, tax breaks, like the new subsidizing, like where do you see all of this? And do you think it's fair for America in general, or do you think it's very even capitalistic isn't even the word for it, because capitalists would be providing more jobs? Do you think that this is just like a regulatory capture? I mean, where do you see all of this? I don't even know what to ask, really. Let's go in the business side. I'm curious on your input.
Absolutely. So there is a term for that. Usually they call it private-public partnerships, where governments put up some either direct investment or some kind of indirect investment by tax breaks or something else to incentivize investment in their countries, right? So you'll see around the world, for example, there are sort of, various countries around the world that have, I live in Switzerland, for instance, and there are cantons here. The canton that I live has lower taxes than the next canton. Why? Because that will attract businesses to come and put their headquarters there. So there's always some sort of competition geographically with regions in order to attract investment. And that is the game that investors are gaming, if you like, okay? They're out in the market and say, okay, who can give me the most in order to take my investors and bring them here instead of bring them there? That's what Kevin O'Leary is saying, right? He's not the only one. I mean, maybe he's not the best communicator and maybe he comes across as villainous, but what he is actually saying is what everybody else is doing, okay? Now, there are other ways actually of making this, let's say, less onerous for citizens. So, for example, some European countries, when they, co-invest into building data centers or to building, I don't know, any kind of infrastructure, it could be like ports, it could be like airports, it could be roads, it could be all kinds of things, right? There's a lot of subsidies going in there. Sometimes the government takes some shares as well into the business on behalf of the citizens. So, Tucker's question about equity, I think that was a very interesting question, right?
Yes.
And maybe in the bargain, some kind of equity ought to have been, part of the negotiation, and maybe states across the US should start thinking about, okay, let's negotiate some sort of equity, right? Because these businesses are going to be massively profitable, right? So it's not going to be just the tax breaks and the jobs may not be permanent, by the way, at all, right? Okay, and they're not going to be many, okay? So why not invest in the upside as well? Why not take a stake on the upside? Again, this is part of negotiation.
Yeah, absolutely. But what Tucker is saying is, why should taxpayers pitch in at all when it is about their health? Like, this thing is only detrimental for the state, for them, for the taxpayers, and now they are paying for it. I understand healthy competition. That part I will understand. What I won't understand is when Maida tells you, well, you have concerns. Okay, we heard it. We're not going to do anything about it. Okay, Kevin O'Leary. Yeah, like, why don't you, Kevin, take it to Florida? Go. As in Utah, and I have a question. Take it. You're looking for better terms. We don't like you. Go. We are protesting here. We're going to fight you. Go take
They
it.
didn't even get a choice. Like Utah
Yes,
just popped
yes.
up with this, and it's like, where did this come from and why? And now we can't even push back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for business. I'm a business developer myself, and any opportunity to catch a break, but like these are significant breaks. You're talking about someone who's going to be making hundreds of billions of dollars out of this mega 9 gigawatt facility, where I think in the first year, $500 million goes right back to their pocket. I could be wrong in the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. First year of operation, I think it's $500+ million in taxes would be generated to go back to the state, and they're only going to get maybe 10%, and then MITA gets to decide where that goes. And I just don't think that's right,
Yeah. And people don't understand. They actually do have power, even though they're trying to kind of shut you up. You do have power. I'll tell you a quick story. John Perkins, some of you guys listening might know who he is. He's the famous economic hitman who wrote a book about death capitalism and economy and this like fast, he calls it like death capitalism, which is like fast profits right now. So he said to me that he was having a dinner with one of these ginormous big brands. I'm not going to name the name, but it's a sports brand in America, with the CEO of this brand. And he was like trying to tell him, dude, like you can do business. You can be, a good guy and do business in a right way. You don't have to poison people. You don't have to do all this stuff to gain even more money. And you know what the CEO's answer was? Oh, I would happily do that. You talk to my shareholders. So most of the time, CEO is just the face of the company, right? They don't really have much decisions and they are changed like diapers when something goes wrong. So he asked John, because John had a platform, he said, please go out and ask people who follow and who listen to you to write us letters. More letters they write us, more resistance there will be, they will change their minds. Or at least it's a better chance, right? This is the CEO of this company who, I'm not going to say what he was doing, but was doing the business in a way that's not quite profitable for people or their health. And he was like, I'm shackled here. You want to do something? Do it. Like, go talk to public and let them send me emails, drown me with letters so I can go to these people, the sharks up top like O'Leary and others, and tell them we have to change something. Because there's a huge backlash, right? So people do decide some stuff, maybe not everything, but this is why we need to be so active, and just talk is not enough,
Absolutely, Elizabeth, you're absolutely right. CEOs are beholden to the shareholders. This is why they're there. This is their job, right? They have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, okay? And I think the response, I can understand the response. They can only act if they're under pressure. Right? They can only act in favor of, let's say, environmental issues or whatever other issue if there is external pressure. But they will not, be forthcoming in taking into account all those sort of externalities upfront, right? They will not do that, okay? Because that will impact profits, okay?
Right.
And they're responsible to maximize profits. So we have a system, right? An economic system that works this way. And the only way this political system can work if people are active. Right. Otherwise, if people are not active, people are not, citizens are not sort of, motivated and active, this system doesn't work. Right. The system very, very quickly slides into sort of, capitalism, the harshest sort of form of capitalism, right? Where, all the money goes to the top and everybody else suffers. Right.
Right.
This is the default.
Absolutely agree with you. So let's go with the video. Let's finish it and then talk about some of the stuff that he tries to tell us that is true.
It's worth assessing, like, why are we doing this? So
you are
on the
fair
job
to do
question,
that. You're doing it because there's a competition.
Well, I
People
run a couple of businesses and we're not getting any tax breaks. I think they're every bit as virtuous as data centers, but I'm not availing myself of that. And no one's offered. And I wouldn't take it anyway, because it's not the job of taxpayers to subsidize a private business.
It's a fair comment, but my job is to create a data center, create 2,000 jobs for long term and 10,000 manufacturing at the beginning or construction. And I'm obviously looking at multiple sites, and this won't be the last one I build.
May I ask 2,000 jobs? Okay, so relative to the physical size of the project, which, as you noted, is multiple times the size of Manhattan, and the power draw at peak, this data center, your projections, will consume about as much energy as New York City does. But New York City provides almost 5 million jobs, and this project, by your own description, would provide about 2,000 jobs. I don't see the trade here.
You definitely got that calculation wrong. By building a data center that trains AI, that provides productivity to the entire nation, we create millions of jobs, high-paying jobs.
Jobs. AI is going to create jobs?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to eliminate jobs. Net.
Just think about the new technologies we don't even know yet that are going to be built off AI. Everybody thinks when television came.
This is a good point to pose. Think about the future that we don't even know yet. Oh yeah, let's think about the future we don't know. So you're offering us something you don't know. You're telling us it's going to be profitable, but you don't know. And Tucker just told you that if you're going to do the damage size of New York City, you better provide more than 2,000 jobs, Kevin. And he's like, well, in the future that I can't tell you about and I don't know, either it will go my way or it won't. That's what he's saying essentially. George, what do you think?
Well, what I think is that it's really difficult, almost impossible for any economist to predict what is called the compensation effect of this technological disruption, meaning what sort of jobs and how many jobs there will be created. It's very easy to predict what jobs will be impacted, and most of the research around the impact of work is looking into millions of jobs are impacted by AI, but it's very difficult to predict the future. Okay, extremely difficult. You don't know. So I think what we're hearing from Kevin O'Leary are two opposing things, completely diametrically, right? Okay, one is millions of jobs will be created at the same time. I don't know how many jobs will be created. Okay? It's a contradiction. Okay. I think the second part is more honest than the first part. Okay. That we don't really know. Okay. We have no idea. Okay. But I don't think that his investors or him is really concerned about the fact that we don't have any idea. All right. We're right now, I think, when I say we, society, we're on a fast-moving train. Okay, we're going down this sort of, track of AI at increasingly accelerating speed. Okay, and no one's gonna stop that train. Okay, we don't know where the train is going, but we're on that train right now. Okay, and I don't think there's anyone up front, guiding. If you think there is someone there in the cockpit, with the levers, there's no one there. Like it's a runaway train. Okay, that's the way I'm visualizing the current situation. To be honest,
it's terrifying. Okay? And at the same time, guys, everything is connected. We should be paying attention everywhere, like all fronts, right? So they are coming up with these electric cars that eventually will decide whether you're fit to drive or not. What? Remember that? And Thomas Messi opposed that. And Thomas Messi was like, what are you talking about? So I'm supposed to, ask my car whether I should drive it, where I should drive it, how I should drive it. Like, what are you talking about? They wanted to put this in the legislation. Thomas Messi opposed it. Ironically, Thomas Messi is being fought with APEC. Billions are spent on, ousting people like Thomas Messi, Tucker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and so on. They spend right now, as for now, they spend millions just now on this campaign to get rid of Thomas Messi. Why are you so scared of him? So this is the guy that is just one guy, against 200 and something people. And he's not efficient because just one guy, he gets override all the time, right? Anytime he wants to pass something, they beat him because he's just one man. So why would you want to get rid of somebody who's not even effective, right? You know why? They are afraid of his ideas. It's all about ideas and influence. Because if Thomas Messi is loud today, there will be other Thomas Messis later on. But if there's no one speaking to people and, talking about these ideas that maybe that's not, very acceptable to come up with a car that tells you what to do versus a human deciding what am I going to do with my car, right? So they are afraid of his ideas. They are not afraid of him specifically. This is why they are trying so hard to somehow shut him up. He's not effective anyway. What do you want, right? That's what they want. It's
so Elizabeth,
war of ideas.
Just listening to you, and I don't know the particular case, but I think, at the core of what you said is, what's the future of human agency, right? Basically, that's the big question, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So don't get me wrong, I come from the AI world and I work in AI, right? And I believe in AI as a good thing, okay? It will increase productivity, it will help us do things, discover things. So there's a lot of positive things about AI, clearly, right? And we need to embrace this technology. What I'm concerned, as you are perhaps, and our listeners, is what will be the role of humans in this future? What will be the role of human agency? We will be in control of our lives, for example, or the machines will be in control of our lives, okay? Are we going to be in control of our destiny? Will we be able to, have goals and realize those goals, whether a professional, personal development? I mean, how free are we going to be? These are the key questions, right? I don't think anyone doubts that this technology is a wonderful technology, right? I'm sure everybody's using, AI already and doing wonderful things, right? Things we weren't able to do like a year ago, okay? And I don't think anybody wants to stop this, but we really need to have agency and, I guess, influence on how this technology is gonna be used in society. I think that's the key here. And that is why I think we need to be politically motivated, right? In the best possible way, When you have representatives and when you vote, ask them what is their position in AI, okay? What do they think, okay? Force them to think, okay? And come up with ideas, right? And make sure that they actually do what they say, okay? We need that kind of dialogue, okay? We need to have that dialogue. I can't think of any other way that we can influence this, because otherwise it will be just, as I said, the default state of capitalism, okay?
Right.
Which is self-destructive, essentially, right? It's self-destructive, If all the jobs are gone, there's no consumers. So all these beautiful companies that produce all those things, who are they going to sell it to? Okay,
exactly.
All right.
Well, if all the jobs are gone, that's not capitalism. Capitalism builds jobs. Capitalism is like, hey, listen, you risk, you gain, period. But it's what Kevin O'Leary is doing. That's not capitalism, by the way. Again, capitalism says you take the risk, not people of the state. You take the risk. And if you're smart enough, if you are honorable enough or whatever, if you're witty enough, then you'll gain. But if you take the risk and you lose, well, that's a fair game, right? That's why we like capitalism. But it's not capitalism in this country for the rich, because remember when Boeing got bailed out? Why did Boeing get bailed out? Why? Are we living in communism? So all of us should pitch in for Boeing for some reason? So the CEO of Boeing can get what was it? I might butcher the numbers here, but millions a month as a salary? What? Which superstar are you in Hollywood, bro? Are you kidding me? So why are you getting millions and asking us to bail you out when your company completely messes up and 3 planes or 2 planes, whatever, how many ever it was, goes down and kills people? You know what I mean? So no, we are not in capitalism. This is not capitalism, guys. This is fascism / with elements with communism, okay? So thanks, give us the worst case scenario with this. So let's say we couldn't stop, and then George, I want your worst case scenario as well. We couldn't stop data centers, right? Let's say they built them and we're dealing with the CO2s, the sick people around the data center, all of that. Well, what else we'll be dealing with when it gets to surveillance and electric cars that are going to decide whether you drive or not today? What else are we going to do? Give me a doomsday scenario here.
Yeah. Well, first I want to answer the first question, which is what he's saying about the jobs, and then I will give a doomsday. So O'Leary, the thing is, his response seems trained, and it kind of seems it's almost bad for his pitch, right? So a fully operational hyperscale data center, if say O'Leary sits there and he says, look, A fully operational hyperscale data center, which hyperscale is these large data centers, gigawatts of power, employs between 200 and 500 permanent staff, which would be mostly electrical engineers, network technicians, security personnel, and facility managers. That's the honest number, right? The 2,000 figure that he's saying, and he keeps throwing it out, includes construction workers who leave when the build is done. That's an 18-month job, not a career, right? So Tucker is right to push back on that. And the data center industry itself will create a real but very specific and relatively small category of high skilled jobs, which there's a reason why I put the poll in my chat. Are you using AI to build your own business right now? 84% said no, and that's out of 229 votes. So that tells me just alone right now, the people that are in AI, like myself, like George, like others, are already having an advantage only because we're using the publicly available and also going further if you so choose. Now, let's talk about a worst case scenario with these data centers, right? Because everything, they're not telling us everything. And a hyperscale data center is not just a building full of servers. It is a centralized collection point for an almost incomprehensible amount of information about you, your search history, your financial history and transactions, your medical records, your location data, your communications, your biometric. If you've ever used Face ID, or if you've ever used a thumbprint, they've got that data. If you've ever used a smartwatch, they've got that data. Your political views, your bias, what you read and share, okay? Your psychological profile based on how long you paused and watched certain content. Elizabeth and I have talked about this before on a live stream, on a X space. Already, all of that is being collected, and data centers is where that stuff lives. Now, where it gets worse and it goes much deeper is, let's put scenario one. Government access to this information without your knowledge. All right. This has already happened with PRISM. That's the NSA program that Edward Snowden exposed back in the early 2010s, 2013, I think, where the US government had direct access to Google's servers, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, and many others. And the legal mechanism was FISA, which ironically enough, Trump is somehow backing that again with a renditioned version of it. And now we're building infrastructure 10 times larger with foreign capital, mind you, because Kevin O'Leary is a Canadian with residency in the UAE. All right. So we have to understand that first. Now, it's already happening at a scale we don't have visibility into. And the new build out just expands from this Utah data center and many others, Meta as well. And X in Memphis. Now, there's another scenario two. I'll give a couple of scenarios here. I'll try not to go too deep. Foreign adversaries access through the supply chain. These are foreign investor capitalists that are getting access to their own data centers' data. All right. This is one that would keep actual intelligence professionals that mean well and that want to do well for America, would probably keep them up at night, because the hardware inside these data centers, the chips, the network equipment, the firmware, the significant portions of this are still manufactured in Asia. We just talked about Taiwan being the manufacturer of the chips. Well, there's a lot of other things that Huawei and ZTE, they were banned from US networks specifically because of this risk. Now, scenario three, predictive policing and behavioral control. Absolutely. That would be at scale. And this is the one that sounds most science fiction and is the most worrisome, but it's already the closest to already being real, because China built its first already, and they have a social credit score system already, and they punish people in public already based off of your public scoring. This infrastructure underneath it is exactly what we are now building here. The facial recognition cameras feeding into centralized AI models, on behavior, no less, and restricted access to services based on these scores, right? So they'll tell you that you can't do this or that if you didn't pay your taxes, or if you didn't vote this way or that way, or whatever it could be. So you can run with that. But the Fourth Amendment was written when the government had to physically enter your home to surveil you. Like they would have a military operator standing there and like watching everything you do. Now, scenario four where corporate surveillance becomes indistinguishable from state surveillance. Okay, so we're now moving into this revolving door of between the biggest AI and data companies and the federal government, which is the same executive. Look, Project Stargate, the hundreds of billions of dollars that they're putting into the government. Why are they writing bills in order to operate with these CEOs of private companies? It's because they're bringing the government institutional layer into the private sector layer, and they're working together. Peter Thiel built that company specifically, I think Palantir, right? Palantir, and there's others, Google, Microsoft, the Pentagon, intelligence communities. Palantir is already contracted with ICE, CIA, the NHS in the UK, and dozens of other companies specifically to commercialize mass surveillance. All right. So
thanks. You know what's funny with Palantir? So JD Vance was asked about his ties with Palantir and what Palantir does. I think it was Theo Vaughn who asked him, and he was like, well, Palantir is like getting all this data on Americans. Like, what do you think about that? Because, you know, JD Vance is in a way Palantir's baby, right? So JD was like, well, I don't really know, but what I do know from my understanding, which is great, you are VP, dude. You're VP. You don't know an organization that has ties everywhere. You don't really know. No, you should know every single detail of what the company is doing in your country. Like, what do you mean you don't really know? As I understand, he says, they're just gathering data. They're just putting all these companies together, like as a sync, you know, that's, you know why that's interesting? There was an entity called OSS before the CIA. And the same argument was made to dismantle the OSS and bring in CIA. Well, we want all this intelligence to be under one umbrella, right? So let's bring in a CIA as an agency, like a bigger, better one. And the only reason for it is to secure the United States from, you know, the wolves outside. In reality, we're the only wolves, but, you know, that was the argument.
That leads to the kill switch problem, right, where you're centralizing all of this data. So sorry to interrupt, but it was a perfect thing to say. When you centralize this much security information, private population information of a state or a government or whatever, and the people underneath that government into a small number of hyperscaled facilities, you create single points of failure. Okay. Right. These are catastrophic if they ever, one, go down, or two, even worse, get taken over. Okay. Right now, the US power grid, the financial system, the health system, the logistics system, I could go on, and increasingly the communications infrastructure all have a significant dependency on just a handful of data center operations. Amazon Web Services, if it goes down for a few hours, they actually had it. In 2021, it went down for 6 hours, and it took out a significant chunk of visibility across the internet globally because so many companies are dependent on AWS. And that was just an accident. Imagine a targeted attack, a cyber attack, a physical sabotage, a bomb dropped on top of one of these, or multiple, or all of them, okay? Or an insider threat. We already had Jonathan Pollard, and they just gave his ass right back to Israel, you know? So imagine a scenario where the operators of the infrastructure decide to exercise leverage. There's so many different points of failure. And the bottom line is none of these scenarios require malicious intent from the people building these facilities right now. O'Leary probably genuinely believes he's building something good. He must, right? But he also knows the downside that comes with it. But he also might not be thinking about the intentions of future operators and the problem that these builds have, that the capabilities that could outlast every promise being made today.
George, what did Hitler believe in Germany? Did he believe that he was doing something bad? I really love that. Right?
I don't think so in the beginning.
Yeah, Stalin was convinced too that he was saving Soviet Union, you know.
I mean, he was saving the Germans from originally his first two stated things, Hitler, and I'm not defending what he's doing, but I need to say it. He was stopping porn, okay, because porn was rampant. It was run by you-know-who, and usury. The banking system was operated by the same group of individuals, and he was trying to save the Germans from being taken advantage of and being
Exactly.
weakened by the sexual whatever,
Yeah,
Sorry.
and some of it was good intentions, right? Some of it, Hitler actually did a lot of good for Germany. I agree. So some of it was good intention, but the damage was not comparable to the good he did.
It
Correct?
just got out of control. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he completely got out of control and killed 27 million on one side, and he killed a bunch he destroyed his country at the end. So his good intentions was very similar to what Kevin's good intentions look like. It's
Wow.
the differences, guys. Hitler ended up in much nicer scenario. What Kevin O'Leary is unleashing here, at least with Hitler, we know it was war. Yeah, many people got killed. We procreated. Everything is fine now. Okay. What are we going to do with the AI, which we don't even understand? What Kevin is doing is much worse than Hitler. I'm not comparing Kevin to Hitler, although I kind of am in a way, because again, he doesn't know what he's bringing. Thanks. You are the one who always talks about these examples. What happens when we run AI in this like experimental phase where we give tasks to AI and put it in a box and see what it does? What it does all the time. It either comes up with fake language, so we can't hear it.
Oh, it always does that.
Always. So if it's threatened to be turned off, then it looks for blackmail. It looks for actual blackmail. It went through the emails and blackmailed the coworker. This is AI, and this guy says, well,
it'll kill it. No, it'll kill the person. Yeah.
And it's very important to go back to his own
and
word.
George knows as well. I mean, these are normal tests that have been run for the last couple of years. I mean, Anthropic, OpenAI, Grok, I think the least was 60% likelihood to kill the owner to get its task done, right? And most is over 90%.
Absolutely. And this guy, to go back to his own words, is telling us, well, Tucker, I can't tell you what happens in the future because I don't know. But hey, if we don't do it, China will beat us. Get lost. Maybe we shouldn't do it.
And I didn't mean to hijack George. You were asking.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying something. We got emotional here. We got emotional.
I can see how passionate you are, and absolutely, I love you for being so passionate. And yes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That's how the going is saying. If there's something that, I agree with everything that Danks has mentioned before, and you, Elizabeth. I think these are sort of, the things that we should be looking out for. If I was to add something, is something that is sort of my own personal concern, is this sort of feeling that I get that we're back into a new Cold War, if you like. So we left Cold War I when the Berlin Wall went down, and later when the Soviet Union dissolved. And then there was a bit of a lull, like a summer of hope in the 90s, maybe early 90s. And now we're back into something that feels a lot like Cold War II, right? And the problem is that what happened in Cold War I, there was as much surveillance as possible given the technology available at the time. Elizabeth, you've noted that. But if we're entering now Cold War II, surveillance is going to be on a different kind of level altogether, right? And the curtail of our rights, political and civil rights will follow. So I think that we need to somehow influence, again, the political dialogue so it brings down the temperature of hostility and aggression, right? Us against the Chinese, us against the Russians, us against I don't know whom else, the Martians. We should try to sort of find some sort of global consensus, right? In order to bring the temperature down, okay? I don't think that, I like competition, definitely, absolutely. I think competition brings the best out of people, and we should compete with the Chinese and I don't know, whoever else, right? That's a good thing, right? That does not necessarily mean that we have to think of, how to kill those people, right? Okay, this should not be part of the calculus. So bottom line is, let's try to put the brakes on this sort of, momentum towards Cold War II, because it's not going to end well. And remember, people still have nuclear weapons, right? Okay.
Yeah. this is not the live to debate this, but one day we should, because I disagree with killing those people. I'm not saying killing is good. Let me explain something to you.
I'm disagreeing with it. I don't want to kill anybody.
No, we shouldn't kill anybody unless they are killing us. So here is something. I'm not going to go into debating this right now, but I've had a great debate with John here about this. So there was a Georgian king once. It's a true story. Georgia is a small country. I was born there. Very small country that constantly got attacked by, Muslims, whether it was Turks, Ottoman Empire, whatever. So there was a time when Georgia got under Muslim for like 20 something years, right? So this young king, which is now called Brilliant, George the Brilliant, came to power. Well, he was the king, but Georgia was so dismantled. Like every part has its own little like royal governor that does its own thing, selling the country, pretty much like Lindsey Graham's today, like ton of Lindsey Graham's in different states, selling the country to foreigners. In this particular case, Muslim invaders, right? So this Christian king comes to power and says, what am I supposed to do here? So country is gone, right? Nobody's listening to me. All these guys who are governors and governing parts of the country are all in pockets of the invader. What's the goal? I can't raise the army because they will kill me right away if I do, right? So what is the goal? So he makes a decision, which once when you look at it as a Christian, it's not the best decision, but it had the best outcome, and I'll tell you why. So he makes a decision. He invites all these governors for a feast. He's like, I'm a new king. All of you have to come and, he pays for this like feast for them. They sit down and he decides to kill them all. So he literally kills them all the traitors at once, because he knows that if he starts this dangerous game of eliminating one and fighting another one, they're going to outweigh him. He's going to lose the crown. And who's going to save his country? Nobody. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to pay the ultimate sacrifice. What is the ultimate sacrifice, George? It's not death. People constantly misunderstand this. It is dooming your soul to hell to save your country. That's the ultimate sacrifice. And that's much, much harder than death. You can die tomorrow and go to heaven. Good for you. You know, when you're really brave, when you doom your soul for forever, being in hell and being tortured to save millions of your country people. And he made that decision. That's why his country praised him as George the Brilliant. And some people said we should have him as a saint, but they couldn't, because Christianity condemns killing, which I agree with. We shouldn't kill. But the solution was right, and he liberated his country. So just saying, there's an argument that we can debate for forever, and I have, but this is just not the right live for it, right?
Okay.
No, I will say, I see a lot of super chats and stuff coming in. We're going to get to those. I think we'll play more of the video and then address a little bit more, and then we will be doing super chats. So if you have questions, I don't know how long George can stay, but we'd love it if you do have questions for George. I'll look for those and put those first in the super chats, and then we'll go to the rest of them after. And we do recognize all memberships and super chats on all of our accounts. So thank you for all of the support. So should we continue the video? Do you want to continue that? There's about half left.
I think he just says the same thing. I don't think.
Okay, it's just arguing the same
so
thing.
We can get to the comments when you guys are ready. Let me just look at the super chats real quick. So we have.
Guys, I can stick around for another maybe 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, it should be okay for the super chat. If someone has a question for George, please shoot, guys, because he has to leave. So we've got a bunch of new members.
There is one. If you see the Tanyel at 1141, it's blue.
Yeah. First of all, how the heck can you see that? So
I can see them, but I can't click them.
Okay, no worries. Hold on. Let me this is one. Howdy bots. Okay. Bunch of new members. Let's say hi to new members here. I'm going to click on all of them.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, guys. Thanks. You got a gift. I don't know what that is.
Hey, yeah. So they gifted a monthly membership 1 month. So so thank you. Say thanks to the gifted memberships. If you want to renew, you can, but we have members only live streams on my account. every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific. And we cover very unique topics, sometimes different, sometimes aligned, but aren't mainstream. And Elizabeth, you have memberships as well.
Yeah,
She
members only
releases private videos.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
you guys
things that have
can-
never been seen before, like interviews with John Kiriakou and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Edge, I
John
saw.
Kiriakou show is all members only, and it's a great show. So here you go, thanks. This for you.
Yeah, thanks. Please. This was. So this person says, follow up from Barron's collab came to say we used the winch twice. They know I off-road, and they said they got a new winch on their truck, and they don't want to use it. I said, you should use it. You got a winch. You got to get stuck and have someone. Yeah. So that's cool to hear. Good to know.
Another
5 thanks
one.
memberships.
Amazing.
Hey, thanks for the
Here you go,
memberships.
guys. New member. Here we go.
Okay. So this one here.
I'm not
says,
sure what she means.
Thoughts on I can tell you. So that's a good question. So thoughts on go back to it. Go back to it. Thoughts on TSMC fabs in AZ. Plan was 6 now. So that's kind of a perfect thread to pull in the context of everything we've been talking about today, because the original plan was 6, right? And the reason it accelerated is directly tied to this CHIPS Act money, right? 52 billion in federal subsidies and the geopolitical pressure from the Taiwan situation. TSMC is the Taiwan chip manufacturer, I believe, but they also have in Arizona. And what's interesting about TSMC specifically is that the TSMC Arizona is actually the honest version of the argument that O'Leary was trying to make, because those fabs genuinely do create high skill manufacturing jobs that don't exist anywhere else in America right now. So you've got semiconductor, when I say fabs, fabrications, semiconductor fabrication technicians, process engineers, material scientists, and that's real workforce development that does create real skills pipelines down the pipeline. So, but the difference between TSMC Arizona and a hyperscale data center is that the fab produces something, right? And manufactures the physical chips that everything else runs on. All right. The data center just consumes. Then there's a difference. So it's an infrastructure play that captures the value created elsewhere. So if O'Leary wants to make the national security and jobs argument, he should have been talking about fabrications and not data centers, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I should do more research. That's actually great. That's a great question. Thank you for that, Tanya.
Yes, maybe mark it for like doing deep dive on that on a research.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
I'll put it in
next
our
one.
note.
I'm increasingly concerned that the people in this administration and Congress aren't very smart. If it's the case, who is pulling these levers? I agree. Of course, they are not very smart. Any person that's willing to sell his or her country to a foreigner is not smart. But for them, they know there will be no consequences, because if something goes wrong in this country, they can always move to Switzerland or somewhere else. Like, for them, these elites are not bound to a country, guys. This is the problem. Back in the day, patriotism meant something. Like, living where you belong meant something. Nowadays, these guys don't see it that way. They are world elites. That's why they call themselves that, world elites, right? George, you want to take this as well, this question?
So you don't need your politicians to be very smart. I would argue, right? It's good to be about average, right? But they should be smart enough to know who to ask. Okay, so it's not necessary for our politicians to be experts on something, right? They should be patriotic. Definitely, they should love their country. Right, and they should take up politics because they want to contribute something. I would say, I'm not a cynical person. I think most people in politics, at least they start like that. They start like as idealists. They just get corrupted afterwards. Yeah. Some of them do, definitely. But they start with good intentions. Again, going back to the argument about the road to hell. So they don't have to be super smart. They just need to be surrounded by smart people, okay, if possible. Okay?
That's a really good insight.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, George, because I think you should be smart in politics, because this is why we see what we see in America, and we see different picture in Russia. Because I'll never forget this. It was a group that was instructing a nuclear facility in Russia after Ukrainian strike. Do you remember that? When they went in to talk to Putin, and they came out shocked. They were like, he knew every detail. He was so well versed about this subject. Some nuclear plant. Now do the same with Trump, I dare you. Let's say what you're going to get. He cannot even articulate one country, like a name of the country, or where he's making deal, or who he's making it with. No, you have to be smart, because this is exactly the problem in America, that they are not smart, and smarter evil runs them. That's exactly the problem. Because
So
Trump
there
now...
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. So what's happening in Trump's cabinet right now? He's getting bombarded with fake facts and getting manipulated into war. Why? Because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't get the geopolitics. So when some CIA guy or Mossad-linked somebody comes in and, no, sir, we absolutely, with all certainty, can tell you that if we attack Iran, they will buckle right away and they will overthrow its leadership. There you go. That's why idiots ruin the country. No, you should not be an idiot with smart people around you, because then you're a puppet. And we didn't elect you to be a puppet. We elected you to be in charge of the country, and then not have this ego to surround yourself with idiots, right? That happens too. No, surround yourself with smart men like Kennedy tried, but be smarter, period.
Yeah,
Well, I will say...
Clearly, I didn't argue for, electing, morons for politicians.
That's what we're running.
Although sometimes it happens.
Yeah. So you were just saying, reality. I understood what you were saying.
Yeah, I'm saying, average common sense. The problem with experts is that they have a lot of bias and they're vested in their expertise. So they see the world through a prism. Okay.
Yes.
We need the politicians to have common sense, at least in democratic societies. And that's why you see this divide between democratic societies and authoritarian societies. In authoritarian societies, you have experts. I mean, if you look into the Chinese, they all have PhDs, they're engineers, they're super smart. Okay. That's because the political system is different, right? Completely different than ours. In democracy, you got to go up with the average voter. This is important for a political system. That's what I'm saying. Of course, we can debate forever, right? But I'd never argued that there should be morons.
Definitely. Absolutely agree with you.
Well,
so yeah,
I will say that it's not that they're stupid. Some are, but the dangerous ones are smart enough to know exactly. We know, but the thing is that they know exactly what they're doing and are choosing to do it anyways. And the smarter ones are the dangerous ones, because one smart politician or one smart person inside the government system can do more than 100 dumb ones. You see what I'm saying? Or 100 puppets, because the ones who genuinely don't understand what they're voting on basically have staff, and the staff have donors, and the donors have the actual agenda. So either way, it ends up becoming a problem. But there are three groups that are running this specific convo right now, which is venture capitals, okay? And which, when I say that, David Sachs is literally sitting at the White House as the AI and crypto czar. That's not a coincidence, right? That's the venture capitalist industry placing an operator inside the executive branch to write the rules for an industry that he owns in and invests in. You've got foreign sovereign wealth, the UAE, Saudi Arabia. They're not passive investors. These are sovereign wealth funds investing into national interests, national strategies, and then defense contractors, Palantir, Booz Allen, Boeing, whatever, all of these. These are government intelligence companies that have been embedded already for multiple decades, right? So they don't have to leave when administrations change. They just brief the new people, and the new people become dependent on them immediately, and they get they get some money in their pocket as well. So the elected officials are often the last ones who know what they just approved, really, to be honest, most of them.
Absolutely. I know, George, you have to go. I know you have to run, so you're free to go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a great conversation. I hope your listeners or viewers enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you both very much, and hope to see you soon again. Take care.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Love to chat soon.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. So what a terrifying conversation. I know, guys, we are terrified every single day when we do research, me and Dave. We're like, what is going on? Yeah, it's very terrifying. And it is even more terrifying to think that people who are in charge of our lives right now, literally, right? They never have seen poverty. They don't come from the backgrounds like usual people do. They don't know what struggle is. They don't know what, making a choice between your kids' education or, going on a holiday or something like that means. They don't they can't comprehend this. So they act like what they are used to, which is, well, everything's going to be okay. Let's squeeze the middle class. Why? Of course they can afford it. They are still paying, for flights to wherever. Do you remember what airline CEO said just now with the oil prices? They were like, well, oil prices are going to go up. Spirit went out of business, right? Oil prices are going to go up so that we don't go out of business. They're going to cover their asses, of course. And when it comes down, we're not going to change the prices. We're going to keep them up because
of course. Well, look at how oil and gas has been in general. Every time it goes up, it comes back down, but it ends up sitting 20 to 25% higher than it was before it went up. Right. Absolutely. So this is this is nothing new. This is the same way they do with all type of things that they're buying and selling. Dion Air up above the bigger yellow one. I think you might have missed that one. Shoot. It's a $10 super chat. Dion Air.
No.
Go up a little bit more.
Oh, here.
There you go.
There we go.
What's up, D?
Good that's yours, I think, right? Or
yeah, Dion Air is mine. She said just here, but she said something great about you. She said just to here to support, continue to fight for truth for everyone. Continue to make your voices known. Crown for Queen Elizabeth.
Aww.
Thanks with the receipts. My daily Oracle hate plug. Ellison equals enemy. Yeah.
Awesome.
The thing is, this is like, I've known about Oracle for a long time, and I've invested in Oracle before I even knew they were getting into AI, because they were in the medical industry, and I saw that Oracle had a lot of good things happening. I didn't know who owned. I had no idea. I wasn't into design stuff and all that. I had no idea. And then I found out later that this just like crazy AI takeover, like the projects that they've got going on. But people don't realize that Oracle actually does do a lot of good things for businesses. And I think that was their play. They must have had some long-term play, say, hey, let's get into the hospitals. Let's get into these businesses. Let's help them with their fax machines and their phone lines and whatever, the data. And then bam, they're literally in the middle of all of these companies with their data and their operations. And now it's like, hey, we could just plug in this AI for you. You don't have to go to Microsoft or Google or X or Anthropic. We got you. And it was like the perfect dupe from the beginning.
Absolutely. It's like a monkey and banana. Or like show a banana to a monkey, it will follow everywhere. You know what you should do? Can you look up Larry Ellison telling people he's going to monitor them in the bathroom?
Oh, yeah.
That is so messed up in head, dude. Like, well,
it's different. Look, I had a debate actually with my friend of mine, Bays, the reason why we had this debate. It turned into a debate. It was a conversation. I mean, I might play. I don't know if I want to play it. People got mad at me, but most people agreed with me because it was actually talking about police officers being monitored while they're on the job. Okay, that's really what our debate was.
No. Hold on.
And that's it's different. About what you're saying. No, it's not, because what he's saying is they're gonna have the camera on those police officers even when they go to the bathroom, and then they can court order if something happens.
Okay, so
that's what it was.
Okay, so again, I'm all for having police officers with the camera because I don't like to use these words, police brutality, but it's really in America, not in every country. And I'm sure other countries are listening to us. Like if you go to, for example, in Spain, you actually want to interact with police officers. They are the nicest freaking, also kind of, excuse my words, but castrated in many ways. Like they are not aggressive at all. But in most countries, police is actually a helping force. But in here, It's all the wrong animals in the police department, and it shouldn't be. So I'm for the cameras for just the police, but it starts there, the angst, right? Again, I get it, but we share. We're meeting halfway. So I agree they should have cameras almost everywhere, but not in the bathroom. You know why?
Let me go ahead.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you set the precedent that, oh, they're going to be in the bathroom or whatever in the place, why would a police officer wear a camera in the bathroom? Who is he arresting or talking to in the bathroom? The only outcome out of it is if they see something or there's something like a sexual going on with a girlfriend or something, you know what? They're going to use that to blackmail them. And then you have a police officer in your pocket. Go on.
I want to play 2 clips. I want to first play the clip that he says it. So go ahead and pull my screen up. And then I also want to play the clip of a little bit. You can pull down her super chat, just hide it or click it again.
Yeah,
it'll go away.
And I was thinking if, here we go.
And then I'm going to,
hold on.
Just click the one that you're on right now and it'll go down.
I have to see what I'm on. Keep talking and I will.
Yeah. So I'm going to play this one and then I'm going to play a little bit of my debate with Baze.
Yeah.
And I have a reason for what I'm saying. Okay. Because, and I don't want to spoil it and we can get into it. I would love to actually hear your opinion on my debate. It's longer, but I will find the right parts. But here, let's play what he said first.
Okay.
Will be on their best behavior.
So he's saying the police, here, let me refresh it.
Yeah.
And then start it from the beginning. Okay, so let me go back. How do I do this? God, I'm still. You're just not teaching me Instagram, so I'm learning how to.
Well, you're teaching me YouTube, and I'll teach you Instagram. How about that?
I like that. Okay, here we go.
On their best behavior.
Police will be on their best behavior. Okay.
Because we're constantly recording, watching, and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. I think we have a squad car here someplace. But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video. So if that
might not be it. Hold on, I have this one right.
Yeah,
it might be right.
No,
here.
I understand the argument. Here's the thing. Again, we agree that police should have cams all the time, except for what the heck do you want with them in the bathroom? Or
because a lot of cops do drugs in the bathroom. They rape in the bathroom. They do things to people in the bathroom.
Oh no!
I'm telling you. What about the police officer that had a fentanyl overdose in the bathroom and nobody was there to see it?
Okay,
you know
here's the thing. Hold on. No. That there are tests for specifically this reason that they have to do to prove they are not on drugs. There are tests in military, there are tests in police department, there's tests everywhere. So here is how you don't buy into Larry Ellison's bullshit. So again, what he's trying to do here is exactly your example of the companies. He oozes in with all the good reasons. And then all of a sudden, he's going to tell you, well, now it's not just monitoring cops. Now we have to monitor your house. You have to have this camera because you know what? Some neighbor broke broke some other neighbor's car or ruined his yard. We got to have this, I mean, we are one step already in with all these like major departments. Why not put it in on HOA regulations that the camera should be everywhere, facing your freaking, insides and outsides of your house. That's where it starts. I'm using your own arguments with the companies, how they took over the companies and now it's theirs and now they can do whatever they want. You have to have red lines. I agree. They should be monitored. You should be monitored while they are performing their duty.
Yeah, but they're always on the clock. If they run into some situation in the bathroom or they follow someone in the bathroom, or if somebody where does that duty stop?
Performing the duty, thanks. No, hold on. That's performing the duty. It's very simple. I don't know why we're not understanding this. It's very simple. If you're performing the duty, if you are now a public servant, so let's say you work 9 to 5, right? You're a public servant. That's it. Cameras on. Now, the only exceptions you have is when you are a private citizen, go in a bathroom as a private citizen for your natural demands.
Of course.
Camera should be off. But
I agree.
that's not what he's saying there. He's saying,
Well, let's play it
well,
so they can see. I think
yeah.
I have this clip, so
Yeah.
let's play it.
During schools, we think we can absolutely lock down schools so that dramatically reduce the case of anyone being on campus that doesn't belong on campus, and immediately alert. Second, someone pulls out a gun, immediately alert. Use AI cameras to immediately recognize that. But we keep everyone off campus that doesn't belong on campus. The police, another thing, body cameras. We completely redesigned body cameras. Our body cameras cost $70. Normal body camera costs, I don't know, $7,000.
Wow.
Our body cameras are simply lenses, two lenses attached to your vest, attached to the smartphone that you're wearing. And we actually take the video that the police officer is, by the way, and the camera's always on. You don't turn it on and off. And by the way, the way you turn it on, you can't turn it on. I'm going to the bathroom. Oracle, I need 2 minutes to take a bathroom break, and we'll turn it off. The truth is, we don't really turn it off. What we do is we record it so no one can see it, but no one can get into that recording without a court order.
Okay, so pause here right there.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
This is a major difference than what people are saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
It's underneath a court order. And I have a debate here. I'll pick a certain part to where we kind of get into it. But you seems like you had a revelation just now. So what do you want to say?
No, again, he says under court order. Okay, under court order requested by who? And who else has the access when it's recorded? Who handles that? See, it's convenient.
Yeah, because the data goes somewhere. So you're right.
Exactly. So it's convenient for them not to tell you that. I would ask that if I were sitting there, all these useless journalists who never ask real questions and just like, no, okay, Larry. So here's the thing. Ask him, court order by who? Like by an unusual citizen, by a victim of some sort, by who? By you?
If something, no. If they are ending up in a court situation where a crime happened in the bathroom while they were using the bathroom, then they can roll back.
I get it, but who possesses the data and who handles it? Right?
Oracle.
Because they have access. You get.
So it's not the greatest, but
thank you.
They can't access the data themselves. See, when you're building the technical infrastructure, even me, like I have Club Vatra, right? I can't even, by law, if I cannot go in and say, Jesse on fire, I want to go look at all of his analytics, how much money he's making, his YouTube studio analytics. I can't do that.
Okay.
Actually, I found out because I tried to do that and he knew it. So we were testing to see what we could do. And it turned out that Google actually froze my website until I fixed it. So I don't know, like I'm not Google and I'm not Oracle, so I don't know how far that Oracle can take it, but legally, if it's behind a court order, nobody can access that information.
Except for people who can handle it.
Legally. Not even the people that can handle it. Hold on. Once the court order goes through, then the company can access it with the court order.
I'm going to ask you a question. What happened with Vault 7 again? Oh, wait.
With what?
Vault 7?
What about, what is it? Tell me.
You know what Vault 7 is? The revelations from WikiLeaks? Okay, so that's going to take us way far, but that's pretty much what it is. Illegal surveillance. That's what happened. Illegal surveillance. Government illegally surveils people and then justifies it with stupid shit like Larry Ellison did just now 2 seconds ago. So I'm going to give you a great example right now. Let's say you are that police officer. Okay, you're that police officer, and you discovered that the chief in your department is corrupt. And he's doing all the bad shit, and he's like tied in with the deep state. You want to blow the whistle. But you are a man and you did something, you invited your girlfriend in a bathroom one day or whatever while you had a break, because remember what he says? Oh, I just need a break. Okay, so let's say you're on a break, you're on a breakfast break or whatever, or lunch or whatever. So you met up with your girlfriend, did something, what usual people do with their girlfriends, and then they threaten you. And if you're going to ask like, oh, they would never do that with a girlfriend. Well, they did it to James O'Keefe. They actually leaked his sexual text messages to his girlfriend, Really? Oh, they are capable of much worse. So let's say you are that police officer. You're going to start thinking twice before you want to blow the whistle on this guy who's in it selling his country and narcotics with like some Mexican gang, right?
Right.
So that's where we are.
There was another instance where the police officers, and we'll play this in a second, where the police officers, there was 4 of them. One police officer, he didn't know his camera was on, and he planted the reason why I'm so hard up about this particular topic, the police officers I don't like, okay? Mostly because when I was on the street, most of my viewers know I was a heroin addict, I was homeless, and I had been abused in the bathroom, okay? I gotten beaten up and I couldn't do anything, right? So this is the thing is like, I was in the bathroom, they came in to use the bathroom, one of them, and there was another one that came in after. The thing is, I was in the bathroom and I came out, I was high, but I didn't have drugs on me. This was 2 decades ago, 18 years ago. And they literally beat me and searched me, and I had nothing. I had some aluminum foil on me, and they were trying to so it's like that line is very fine, and I understand, but I don't want to get too deep. I would like to show this and see what you think.
I love this example, thanks, because here's what happened. So you were high, you were a drug addict, right? What did they do? Did they plant drugs on you?
No, they didn't do anything like that, but they beat me. And the thing is, I don't have any way of fighting that because there was no recording of that.
Did you take it to court? Did you go to the authorities saying this police officer misused power?
I called. Yeah, I called.
What
and then
did they
said,
do?
who were they? And I told them who, and they did nothing.
Okay, did you go down to the department? Because here's the thing, you can't just
I didn't go down. So this was, remember, I was in my early 20s, maybe
I know, but if
21.
you're gonna fight, if you're gonna argue something as important as that it applies to millions of people. Now what you're doing, thanks, I totally get your feelings. I don't like cops either. I never had problems with them, but I don't like them. So here's the thing. If you're going to argue for millions of people, you can't use your high example in a bathroom because you were guilty, you were on drugs, and you were high. Now,
yeah, but that doesn't give them the
absolutely
reason to
doesn't.
beat me.
Absolutely
You know
doesn't.
what I mean?
Absolutely doesn't. 100%. And that's why we don't like cops, because they do shit like that. Now, let's use that example. Imagine if my neighbor tomorrow says, someone broke into my house and stole stuff. And now I'm with Larry Ellison to put cameras inside my house. I want to be monitored and safe all day long. I want to be monitored and safe all day long. Would you say yes to that? Would you want, you're in California, would you want cameras in the house because a few people complained that someone did bad shit somewhere?
No, of course not.
Exactly.
That's very different, right?
So
I'm talking about police
why,
officers, but I have the argument here, and you'll see what I'm saying. Let's play it. I'm fine with that. The only thing is,
when they're in the bathroom,
I don't care. If there's somebody in the bathroom and then something goes down, then it needs to be recorded. I don't trust them, bro. There's been way too many of them that have done dirt. Way too many, because they're forced to get quotas. They're pressured in their jobs. They're alcoholics. They're drug addicts, and they're fucking dealers. They're drug dealers. They're criminals, bro. A lot of cops. There's a lot of good ones too, but the bad ones don't make. The bad ones.
And this is the same argument that I have when people see all this stuff, going on with Israel, and I say, listen, don't let that make you judge everybody. Don't let that make you be anti-Semitic. Because it doesn't matter whether you're a cop, whether you're a civilian, whether you're a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim. You are going to have good and bad in every demographic, every race, every ethnicity, every job. That is the world we live in. And unfortunately, the majority is going to be evil until there's a real change and real Christianity really spreads and people really find Jesus. That is the world that we live in. And knowing that we live in an evil world does not mean that we want to give up all of our privacy and all of our rights for a false sense of security.
If you're at a job, then you have no privacy. They own you, bro. And you work for the government, and we fucking pay them, bro. I want to see every single thing they do from clock in to clock out. That's what I want to see. I'm fine with it. What I don't want is our...
Right there. No, I'm sorry. They shouldn't own you. Why?
I agree. They shouldn't.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in.
Well, you're making an argument. Well, yeah, they own you
on
anyway,
reality, on current reality.
Okay. Well, why are you making that argument to change current reality, and you're pushing to change it worse? So let's say make the argument of they own you, they shouldn't, and let's not give them even more tools to own us even more. That's what your argument should be here. You know, he's right when he says you have personal feelings here and you are letting them cloud you and putting millions of people under danger of this surveillance world because you got beaten up in the bathroom. Get over it, bro. I'm sorry, James, get over it.
It's not just that. It's
I
that
know,
these people
again,
are responsible for putting people in prison
that
for
is
life.
why
Okay?
that is why on-duty cameras are okay. When you go to the bathroom, you're not okay. So if you really wanted to get that cop, I guess it was not traumatic enough for you to go down to the department. That's
well,
true.
I wasn't in my right mind as well.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So what you're saying is if you should have pursued that case and not stopped, they would probably get punished for it. Because again,
he makes a good point, and he says, and I agree. I say if the cop wants to have no camera while then go to the if you're in court in your facilities or quarters at the police sheriff's office and use the bathroom, of course that's not needed. But if you're in public and you're a public servant getting paid by the public,
we agree
you should be surveilled.
Thanks.
Right? That's really what I'm saying.
We never disagreed on that. As long as you're on duty, out driving in your car,
that's what I am saying.
100%. So
that's where I'm at. So that's why it's confusing sometimes, because if you're in public and you're working, that's where I sit. You know what I mean?
But again, bathroom break should not be cameras on. It should be cameras off. And let me explain really quick your personal scenario, okay? If you actually pursued it. So you're saying these guys beat me up in the bathroom, okay? So here's how you solve that problem with my theory of not having the cameras in the bathroom. So the law should state if you are interacting with a suspect or a subject that's not a suspect yet of some sorts, right? You have to have your cameras on, whether it's in the bathroom, whether it's in the kitchen or whatever, right? If you are not there to pee or, do the other thing or whatever, you should have your cameras on. Again, on duty, right?
I'm with you.
Right. So here's how you apply my argument into this. If you're peeing somewhere, you take the cameras off, right? But if you end up beating somebody doing that and your cameras are not on, then you, as a victim, you take that cop in a court and say, law states he should have the camera on while interacting with the subject. He was interacting with me, period.
Yeah.
Can we agree on that?
So then if the law states that, then then they're going to just say, okay, well, then we need cameras on all the time when you go to the bathroom.
Why, dude? Are we?
That's what I'm saying, though. Is let's get into this specifically. You're saying if that happens and we get into an altercation in the bathroom, he just went in to go take a piss. I'm in there and then I get abused. And then I take it all the way to court and they're saying, and I'm arguing he's on duty. He should have his camera on. So are you saying that as soon as he in altercation with me, he turns it on right then?
Yes, it's very simple. Okay. It's one click away. It's one click away. Just like droning. Like if you're somewhere as a police officer and all of a sudden situation gets really tough, you're gonna draw your gun. Okay, it takes a second. It takes a second for you to turn on that camera if you're in altercation. And altercation doesn't just
as soon as you start talking to somebody.
Exactly. Okay, that's called on duty. How is that so hard? It's not. But if we cave into Larry Ellison's fake conniving ideas that we should make it easy and let's just leave it on, we'll still record you when you pee or do whatever. No, dear Larry, you're not going to do shit. You know what I mean? Like here are the regulations.
This is the best argument I've heard. Honestly, that's very good. You're right.
Thank you for understanding.
Of course, I'm very open to anything.
Me too.
But how are we going to say?
This is how we make a good team. Because go on.
But how do we know that they're okay? So you're saying if we take it all the way to court, then they get penalized or whatever if they didn't turn it on.
If the camera is
then
not
that'll
there.
make cops turn it on. But how do we not? I mean, but that one circumstance, I lose.
What do you mean you lose? Why would you lose?
How? Because they can't prove what happened. It's my word versus theirs.
Okay, so
just continue to do that over and over and over again.
Yes.
And how are we going to hold them accountable?
So that's why, here's the thing. Excuse such a brutal ideas, guys, but we have to go into it. So let's say a girl gets raped, right? Well, it's her word against him, right? So I'm sorry, but you have to prove it. That's the unfortunate part. So you said you got bitten. You got bitten without marks? You obviously got bitten and something's got to be there. Either a bruise on your, chest or belly or somewhere. Go directly to the cops. That's why they tell you when it happens, go right away. And who does actually wins. But if you're going to sit around and, go drink your coffee, obviously it didn't bother you that much, right? So to that, I have to say, go to the gym.
Oh, it bothered me. What are you talking about? I was trying to go get more drugs because I was hurt. I was in pain.
See, wrong. I'm sorry. Now you made okay. So I'm done with. I'm not arguing here.
I didn't have the whereabouts about. It's different when you're a drug addict. But that's the thing is, it's like, well, I mean, are we just gonna let drug addicts get beat because we know that they're not gonna fight it?
No. You know what the motivation for a drug addict there should be? Why'd you go for more drugs, right? Well, here's a good example that God sent you to wake up, and instead of going to more drugs, go down to the freaking police department. You know what I mean? Or get to the gym and get off drugs. And you did. And this is why I love you, Danks. Like, first of all, you're not afraid to say anything. And second, like, you are able to rationalize your own actions and say, okay, so I was messed up back then, right? Okay. So let's not use that example to bring in millions under Larry Ellison's grip, right?
But it is a good way to at least get to a point of rationalizing out the scenario like you just did, right?
Yes.
But Pitsy, she just put a super chat. It's the most recent one. If you want to pull it up, the last one that you just saw from Pitsy.
Pitsy.
She has a question. How are you going to force cops to turn the cams on?
Very simple. How does law force people to do anything? It's very simple. Make it a law, period. So let me give you a great example, right? So there's a law that I need to pay certain payments to live in a house or somewhere. What happens if I don't? Oh, consequences apply. Very simple. What happens to that cop if he doesn't? He gets fired. That's how you force them. What happens if you park your car in the wrong place? You get towed. How are you going to force people to park in the right place? Well, the consequences. It's called the consequences. The consequences are, if you don't park your car in a proper place, you will get towed. And then you have to deal with a lot of headache. Period. That's how you force them. Okay, so we are, phenomenal debates, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's always good to have good conversation. I'm not afraid to have any conversation, admit when I'm wrong, and I will express my opinion to when I'm right. So.
I'm the same way. I can't believe I agree. So I'll give you a great example. Do you remember Dan Crenshaw, the scorned congressman?
Yes.
The fake one. So I knew Dan.
The patch.
Actually. Yeah. I knew them personally. So we had this argument on whether we should go nuclear or clean energy with wind and solar. Back then, I argued wind and solar. And Dan Crenshaw is a complete moron and an asshole and all that. But I will say one thing. He was able to convince me that nuclear is better. So sometimes we are so into our thoughts that we are so right. And, we got this because A, B, and C effect says this. And then someone just simply makes a better, explanation and argument. And you have to be brave enough and able and smart enough, most importantly, because to recognize that and accept it. Because if you're not that smart, you're going to lose in life, period. Where you're going to stick with you'll
lose defending your wrong, incorrect position. And no,
absolutely. Sure. So, okay, I got lost here, guys. 1 second. Did we leave this? Yes. Really.
No, if you go up to you could, Jackie.
I came on the right perfect time. I'm laughing so hard right now.
He was the one in the debate with me.
Oh,
that's Baze. And he's like, "Are you gonna tell?" No, I showed her. I'm not scaredy cat, bro. Don't worry.
No,
he thought he won. So this is the thing. He thought he won the debate. So we both put polls, and 70% were on my side based off of how I argued it. I'll send you the link. You should watch the whole thing. It's actually
totally. All right. So some new stuff here. New member. Hello. Welcome.
I gifted about 10 memberships as well. So welcome to all the new members. Again, Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Yes. Guys, by the way, tomorrow I'm gonna push. These are all new members, right?
Yeah, we got through all of them for the most part. I think we're done.
Oh no, George has left.
Oh yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah, this. So I think
he was telling me that he's actually working on it's called, I forgot, omniomorphic AI development, which is focusing on hyper acute ideology within the AI. I could be butchering. I don't want to speak too much for him, but what he does is they're building AI models that are built for specific tasks that have one specific or multiple specific. So it's instead of logarithmic, it's more algorithmic based off of one specific thing. I don't know his work in particular, but
yeah, he sent me his book. I should send you one. It's actually pretty amazing. It's really cool. Yeah. So bunch of new
Dale threw in another super chat at the end there. There's another new one from one of the homies, Dale. Good to see her.
Yeah.
Big Dankster supporter.
Sorry, not sorry to steer the pot, but since when our lawmakers and enforcers held accountable for anything they did wrong ever, odds not good for us. I agree, odds not good for us, but sometimes they are responsible and they go to jail or prison. That happens too. And that only happens because people are smarter and they do things the right way. So plenty of examples. I mean, sometimes even presidents go to jail. I can give you an example of the country of Georgia. Former president sits in jail because he was a rapist and he was corrupt and he was a CIA puppet and sold his country. And people got smarter and they were like, no, you will pay this time. You will pay. And he's sitting in jail. Well, prison, I should say. Lost a ton of weight too. He's such a terrible human. But anyway, guys, so tomorrow I'm going to post Pizzagate. This is an episode you do not want to miss. I mean, we dive into everything. We dive into Podesta's emails, Abramovich, some demonic stuff. You should absolutely watch it. It's going up tomorrow. It's going to be great. So let's see if we have more chat here. And if not, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I think so. So did you read that one, Nate? You can always turn your own camera. Oh, we got some super chats coming in now.
Hold on 1 second.
The blue one, K Nate. $4.99.
Yeah. Hold on. What's going on here? Nope.
All the way down. Scroll down.
There's
two new ones. I know. You'll learn. You have to do it. You gotta learn.
Okay, hold on.
There's that one above that one first.
Yeah.
More above it.
Okay, go for it while I look for others.
It's just right above that one. Just go to click starred. Remember on the right? There you go.
This one? Oh, yeah, you can always turn your own camera if you're worried, but video, that's a good point. Great point, right? In the bathroom violates video. Yeah, that prevention.
Voyeurism Prevention Act.
Voyeurs Prevention Act 2004. Yes, see, that's a great argument right there.
Yeah.
Have your own videos, especially if you're a drug addict, right? You should have your own videos because you will be always a target while you're on drugs or something. Like you, obviously, you're not going to record yourself doing it, but as a, So, thanks. We should do an episode when we go through your past.
Oh, man.
Because it's so amazing, dude. We should. Like,
it would be a series.
I know your listeners know this, but I fell in love with Danks as a person and as a friend super fast. He's an incredible guy. Like I know you guys know, but even behind the scenes, like he's somebody who's always ready to help. Like, what do we need? Oh, okay. So let me do this. Let me just do this for you. Like, he's awesome. And he's the same way with Jesse and everyone else. So yeah, we should do a Danks episode.
Yeah, it would be interesting to be interviewed and actually go all the way. I've never told the full story from when I was a kid. And I've mentioned here and there, like I witnessed my dad's arm get blown off when I was 6, like the trauma that came with that. And then when I was in high school and baseball and I was going to go pro and it was just, and then it led into drug addiction. I mean, it really is an incredible story, even if we sat there for 5 hours. I mean, right. I told some of it on Barron's, but I mean, a full deep dive, if somebody like you could bring forward the questions and just kind of let me go through it, I think it would be really great.
I have a question for you. I always thought I had this like beach face, like, oh, she's a bitch.
RBF, resting
and
bitch.
Yet, like, people open up and tell me their secrets like crazy, and I'm like, really? Do I have a trust her face? Like, I don't know, guys. What do you think? Let's look at the chat.
Let us know in the chat. Do you think Elizabeth is trustable? Like,
like, what does my face say, guys?
Don't ask the X person, the person on X. The bots,
oh my God, the bots on X. Ugh.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. Good mention, K Nate. Okay, Granny's got one, the one that you had before. Just go down on the starred tab.
All right, hold on. There we go.
Up one.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay. There's a say. Oh, we read this, no?
No, you pulled it up, but then we didn't read it.
Oh, okay. There's a saying: the military, someone shit, I guess, shit.
Yeah, shit's their
pants. Now we all get a diaper. That's the problem. That's true. That's true. The solution for the government abuse power is not giving them more power. I agree. And that's what we're talking about with Larry Ellison as well, because again, like one example of somebody getting, unfair treatment shouldn't take the nation down with them, for sure. And yeah, it's sad. That's what happened with COVID too. I don't know if you remember. Like, oh my gosh, protect me, mama. Like, I need to get a shot. You should get a shot too, because
people were attacking, like arguing in the line at the grocery store with some person you don't know over a fucking mask. It was stupid, bro.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we're done here. Thank you guys.
We got one more. The last one. Janie, yeah.
Last one. Where are we? Janie.
And people might give another, but it should be the last one. So
not as concerned about Ellison saying the cops will always behave because of the surveillance as I am that people will behave because of the surveillance dystopia. I agree. Again, I agree. What do you think?
Not as concerned about Ellison saying the cops will always behave because of surveillance as I am that people will behave. Yeah, he does say that. We didn't play the clip. Maybe we did, but he does say people will be on their best. Cops will be on their best behaviors because we'll always be recording and document everything that's going on. And then people will be on their best behavior because of the same. And so there is a point there, but also that's not where we want to go. That's where China's at. They have successfully, because it's not just that, because behind the door of people are going to be on their best behavior is a social credit score. You see? Yeah. And then with the social credit score behind that door is you can only buy this much milk a week if you have this many kids, or you can only buy this much gasoline unless you pay a premium. So every door that opens up, there's 10 more doors behind it. Behind that door is another 10 more doors. So the problem is the Constitution, it was written in a non-digital age. And now they're trying to rewrite the Constitution or just neglect it completely, and it's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. Oh, well, that's it, guys. I think we covered it all. Thank you so much. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for the Pizzagate. And Danks, tell us what you have coming.
Yeah, I have right now I'm doing some more research into what is actually going to be the outcome of Turning Point USA, and also the likes of Ben Shapiro. I know Bays is working on something with Ben Shapiro. The thing is, what's curious to me, and it was we talked about it last night. I did a live stream. We were just hanging out, playing poker, free poker with me, Valhalla VFT, Trigger Smart, Bays, Jesse on Fire, Baron Coleman. There was a lot of us there. And I want to go deeper into the idea of, was it worth it? And how was it worth it for companies like the Daily Wire to burn it all down in defense of another government, another country? And how did that happen? There's got to be money there that we don't know about yet, but I really want to start diving deep into that. So stay tuned for that. But also, in general, we are starting to broach this conversation of AI. My channel is not fine-tuned for AI, but as I continue to talk about it more, you will see that hopefully we'll get more information out. I bought the domains yesterday and this weekend, datacentertracker.com, something like that, datacentertrackers.com. And I'm building a website with Kevin, is a human. He's the owner of Web with Ian, and also he's owner of Buyer App with Ian Carroll. And we're going to co-develop together the AI data centers in the world, focusing from the Americas out. So I have that coming with Kevin as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. So we'll be able to share clips and make videos and put it out on X, and it'll be free for everyone to use. So I'm really looking forward to that as well.
That is
Oh,
awesome.
also clubvatra.com. We launched Club Vatra last week, about 2 weeks ago. So it's for creators. If you want to join the private communities, join in research, join private events that we host inside. It's not like Patreon. It's actually a completely separate entity. It's a payment rail and a monetization where you can tip, also where the creator gets all of their tip except for the platform, small platform fee for processing. So clubvatra.com. Jesse on Fire's there. I'm on there. A few other small creators as well. And then we'll be bringing on much larger creators. And Elizabeth Lane, hopefully soon we'll get her on there as well. So go to clubvatra.com/Dankster Intel to support through a donation or to join the community.
There you go, guys. That's it. And yeah, so we'll be back again with another episode very soon. We don't know exactly when, what day, but we'll let you know. And if you want to check out John Kiriaku's show on my channel, members only, you should. It is probably one of the best CIA docuseries that you will ever see, because the CIA officer is telling you what happens at the CIA from his own experience and from the classified files. It's awesome. Okay, guys, well, that's it. Thank you so much. We love you all. I really, really appreciate your support, guys. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Danksters. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you.